You're a few minutes sober and you're just like, I don't know, does my brain work better after a couple hours or after 24 hours? You're like, I think, let me see if I can remember my first job supervisor. Nope, I still have brain damage. I thought that maybe my friends or family members might think like, how much longer do we have to be patient with this person? I see that this person has massive potential and disappointing people, because really I was disappointing myself. But like, I know that like a lot of people are definitely scared about their future because the past you has let you down so many times that current you doesn't believe that there's going to be a future you. It's the better relationships with your friends and your family and your community that you've been looking for. It's being more capable because there's going to be less self-sabotage. And I want that for you. And I know that you want that for yourself because you're watching this channel. Take two, but practice makes perfect. All right, welcome back to Getting Sober, ... Again, my name is Jay, and today we're going to talk about sobriety and the great unknown. But first, make sure that you are subscribed by hitting that subscribe button down below. And also too, make sure all your notifications are turned on. We have some big updates coming up. One of which that I'll mention is that tomorrow, which happens to be April 24th, which doesn't mean that if you're watching this in the future or some other date that this video is irrelevant. I just want to point out there that tomorrow we're going to do our first live stream. It's going to be at noon Eastern time here in the United States. So that's 5 o'clock in the UK. That is whatever time that is, 9 a.m. I think in LA. So figure out your time zone in relation to the Eastern Standard Time Zone. And we're gonna be doing our first live stream. So we're just gonna work out some of the kinks. I don't really know what we're gonna do, what we're gonna talk about. I just wanna see if it works and if there's any problems moving forward. So make sure that you are subscribed and turn on your bell notifications, because also too, not only am I doing these videos, but I'm also now actively updating the community tab, which is like a social media feed post. So you're gonna start noticing that. I'll write a question of the day, or I'll ask you how you're doing or whatever it is. Or I might prompt you and say, hey, today's episode is going to be whatever. So at least you'll have something to look forward to, and that way we have better communication. And then speaking of better communication, don't forget, I forgot all week to mention, it's a lot to remember, but anytime that you have something that you may want to talk about, you can always feel free to email me at gettingsoberagain@gmail.com, and I will try to get to you in the order that it was received. I'll try to. But if you want direct communication with me, subscribe to my Patreon channel, and you will have direct one-on-one support from me with any question that you might have. And I know a lot of you do want to comment, but you don't necessarily want to put your personal business down below. So for as little as the price of a drink, you can support this channel for just $10 a month, or $25 or $50. All three tiers, you'll get the exclusive Getting Sober Again mug. So you'll get something out of it other than just my support and the mug, but then also too, you'll get exclusive content. Whenever you see me popping up an article on the screen, I usually post those article links in my Patreon. So that is another news source and news feed for you too. And then also too, make sure that you are commenting below, not only for me, but for everybody else in this community. So like today happens to be a Friday, and I'm curious, what are you doing this weekend? Comment below. So that'll be your first prompt to stop the video and comment what you're doing. And why I always say like comment below is because I'm just me. I'm a 39-year-old dude who happens to be an artist / musician with long hair or whatever. Maybe you resonate with that, maybe you don't. Maybe you're a creator, maybe you're not. Maybe you're a stay-at-home parent. Maybe you have 20 kids. I don't know. Everybody's different, right? Maybe you're from a different generation. Maybe you're younger, maybe you're older. But when you add your life and relevant experience to the comment section below, there's gonna be somebody out there that is passively skimming through the comments who maybe doesn't want to comment, who doesn't want to put their personal information out there, and they're just thinking, you know, I kind of relate to this Getting Sober Again guy, but I don't know, he doesn't have any kids, and he seems to be a cat person, not a dog person. I don't really know how much I could trust him. But you might be a positive influence, so please always comment below. So as this channel continues to move forward, what I want to be able to do is focus on just making these videos and being more hands off of the comment section and allowing the comment section to be its own thriving ecosystem and its own community where you could potentially be a moderator. So shout out to those of you that are doing their job in being a support to others. I definitely appreciate all of you. I read all the comments. Still so far, I can at least read all of the comments. And I try my very best to thumbs up all of your comments, just like you are thumbs upping these videos, right? And then also too, I try to throw you a heart if nothing else. And then for when I do have the time, which I still currently have time because I'm not starting this new photography job until next week, or this weekend actually. So I do have the time to write back in the comments section. So I hope that it's of service to you, and thank you for your support so far. I know there's a lot of announcements today, but you'll see down in the timeline, I've added a timestamp. I try my best now to add a timestamp past like the updates and things, but I know that a lot of you are curious about what's going on with this channel, this community, because you are part of this community and you are helping to influence and positively affect and change this community. And for that, I love you. So thank you for being patient. So with today's topic, sobriety and the great unknown, for some of you, this might be your first go at trying to be sober for the weekend, right? You might be thinking like, well, I don't know, what am I supposed to do? When I was last weekend, you may know that, let me address, so last weekend I was in LA, right? In episode 90, was it 94? Well, it was, Are You California Sober? That's the thumbnail, a little controversial. And I knew like, it was a little touchy. Like I don't like to make videos outside of alcohol, right? Because YouTube is kind of touchy about those subjects. So like I'm already like, it demonetized that video. So like I won't even make any money off that video. And I lost a subscriber from it. So I want to clarify that thumbnail. As you may have known from previous episodes, I had a CBD sponsor. So I was supposed to have that prop with me, but I had like a little CBD cartridge. So that's all that was. So that's why I took a hit off of that, which I totally forgot that I have. And I blew a little cloud of smoke because I thought that would be relevant to the thumbnail. So it wasn't me smoking weed. So hopefully whoever unsubscribed, maybe you'll hear this message and come back and realize I'm not a pot smoker. And welcome back. So thank you for being forgiving of me and my journey. And whatever, it is what it is. I want to be able to talk about a wide variety of subjects. And I know there's somebody recently sent me a collaboration request, and they have some very daring content on their YouTube page. And it's like, one of the things that I'll do with my Patreon channel is going to be, I'm going to talk more in depth about the other things that I've done, but I don't want to put that out there because I'm genuinely afraid that YouTube will demonetize my whole channel and shut it down. So I don't want to talk about that stuff. And I also don't want to lose subscribers. I'm just being honest with you. So if it's going to cost me not being fully transparent, then that's what I have to do to continue serving this particular community, which is about staying sober and your sobriety from alcohol. But that's why I talk about subscribe to my Patreon channel, because then you'll get a private link when I put those videos out. They'll still be on YouTube, but they won't be monetized videos. And then that way I'll be able to protect myself from YouTube's advertisers in the event that they want to try to pull the plug on me and try to shut this channel down, which would be a great disservice to all of us, right? But so I wanted to clarify that with regard to that episode and that thumbnail. And also too, I want to point out another thing. By the end of today, we will be at 2,000 subscribers. I'm not sure, I hope, I'm pretty sure we'll be at 2,000 subscribers. But to put it, everybody's journey is different. And so like you get to follow along with my YouTube journey, right? Which is super fun for all of us, I think. It took me I have to do math. It took me 28 months to get my first 1,000 subscribers. Could I have gotten in a much shorter span of time? Yeah, if I would have stayed sober. I would have probably done it way faster, but also too, I wouldn't have gone through some rocky ass times in my life, and I definitely wouldn't have those stories to tell. So I'm grateful for the silver lining of being able to share that experience and being able to have gotten myself out of the trenches of not being sober again, to be able to come here and be of service to you and share more relevant experience. There's only so far that we're willing to go. And there's like one of the commenters down below was talking about he had a punctured lung and like lost half his liver and all kinds of stuff. And it's like titanium rods and plates and screws. And I was like, oh my gosh. That's what I was saying. Like sometimes down in the comment section, just like if you were to go to say like an AA meeting and you hear somebody talk about it, it's like, yeah, I lost everything. And like I was contemplating suicide and whatever else. And sometimes you use that as motivation to be like, wow, at least like, I didn't get to that place and there's still time for me to change. But the good news is there's always still time to change. And I still get emails every day, and I still get comments every day with people, I know how you're feeling. I know that you're scared. I know that maybe some of you have turned maybe to faith in the absence of the self-belief that you have in yourself, and you try to do things your own way. And then sometimes we turn to God, or we turn to religion, or we turn to spirituality, or whatever it is, because we just feel like there is no hope. Somebody messaged me earlier today and was talking about how they, I'm not gonna put their name out there, was talking about how they're basically the same age as me, and they have a hard time consuming anything, like any food, any just like water, just like staying properly nourished. And again, I'm not a medical professional, but I'll provide whatever information I can. And I thought that I had maybe some relevant experience to this particular person, but like I know that like a lot of people are definitely scared about their future, because they have, the past you has let you down so many times that current you doesn't believe that there's going to be a future you. And that's scary, right? Because like all of you, if you just cut the bullshit for a second, if you could like abandon your thoughts about your job and what's going on in your home life, in your community, and all the bad decisions that you made, and your life experience, and the grades that you maybe think that you should have got, or school you should have gotten into, or like that promotion that you deserve, but that person that definitely didn't deserve it got it. But you drop all that stuff for a second, you think, like, who are you? You are that little kid. You are that inner child. You are still that person that wants to play, that wants to be loved, that wants to love, that gets excited in the springtime when the flowers are coming out of the ground, and looks forward to summertime and playing with their friends and having barbecues and picnics and good times, and is full of excitement and hope and optimism. That person is still in there, but that person has been buried under all of the pain and all of the trauma and all the red flags and all the embarrassing text messages that you wake up to the next morning, and all the jobs lost and all the relationships that were broken, either romantically, personally, or professionally. And so when we talk about sobriety and the great unknown, it could be absolutely terrifying, because we went from literally being a child, being zero from the day you're born to 17 years old, then being technically a legal adult at age 18. You went from being a child, and society is just hammering down on you what to eat, what to drink, what to wear, what the cool things are, what you should be listening to, what you should be watching, what you should be doing, what you should be driving, where you should be living. And it's hard to just take a step back and cut the bullshit. It's hard to just figure out what you want for your own life while you're trying to manage unreasonable expectations of the world around you. And when we talked about, like with yesterday's episode, managing unrealistic sobriety expectations, we put a lot of pressure on sobriety. If sobriety was an entity, if it was a person, you might think, like if you just think of it like as sober you, as future sober you, we're putting a lot of pressure on, putting a lot of demand on that person to perform. We're so desperately waiting for somebody to come by and hold our hand and to save our life and to rescue us from the trenches and from the ditch of destitute and despair that we've put ourselves in. And all we know is, we've made it this far, what's another drink gonna do? I mean, it's not that bad. Well, it's not great. It's not great either. It's definitely not great. Here's how bad it is. You're watching a channel on getting sober, ... again. But it's a good channel. And I'm glad that you're here. And I'm glad to be of service to you. And I'm glad to be learning from you. And I hope that you're learning from me, and that you're learning from people in the comment section. Very wise people down in the comment section that don't have their own channel. But some of you deserve to have your own channel. And I always tell people, like, this is a community. There are millions of creators. There is so much content. Like YouTube, just statistically speaking, YouTube viewership over the pandemic doubled in the last year. And you might say, like, well, yeah, duh, everybody was inside, but duh, the world is changing. There is opportunity to grow. I only just got to my first 1,000 subscribers 3 weeks ago. And it'll be really interesting if you're watching this episode like a year from now or 5 years from now. God willing, I'm still here and still doing all this stuff. And hopefully this channel will have grown exponentially. right? But I'm here to support you on your journey and to be here with you on your journey. And I hope to continue making relevant and provocative, semi-provocative content for you to absorb. And I look to continue to learn and to educate myself so that I can continue to be of service to you, regardless of whatever your desire is. Whatever, if it's just to be sober this weekend, or if it's to be sober for the rest of your life, we need to know how to manage lofty expectations and unrealistic or unreasonable expectations, right? Not saying that a year is unreasonable, but when we project so far out, that's daunting. It's really scary. And that is the great unknown. When we talk about just trying to get sober this weekend, like how many times have you here legitimately pause the video after I ask this question? How many times have you tried to get sober? How many times have you said to yourself, I'm not going to drink this weekend? Or after this weekend, I'm not going to drink anymore. This is going to be it. How many times? Take a minute, think about it. Pause the video and then answer the question. How many times have you tried to get sober? I'll wait. All right, welcome back. If you're like me, it's probably, I'd say like at least a dozen times. At least a dozen times. I've had to get sober again since starting this channel. I think 3 times. I'm not really sure. I think it's, well, just once, because I started this channel and I was sober for almost 3 months. I was sober for 2.5 months, which was the longest stretch for me as an adult. And then I fell off the wagon. And I fell off the wagon hard. Like I lost everything. Like I lost, I'm like everything I lost is still like within reach, but like I lost my home life. I was engaged. There were children involved. I kept the house, I kept my health. I'm still me and I still have like all those people are still in my life, but like things definitely turned upside down for me. And it was like the fork in the road moment. I've talked about this in previous episodes. You know that if you choose your own adventure, if you go down this path, you can probably fix things, but you just don't know. You really just don't know. Because also too, trying to fix things doesn't change your past. You know that trying to fix things doesn't erase the red flags. Trying to change things doesn't erase all the emotional trauma and the abuse that maybe happened in your relationship, romantically, professionally, or personally. And for a lot of us, we just want to reset. I think a lot of us maybe fantasize about like, if I could just move away, and just start all over, I didn't know anybody and I wouldn't have to be tempted by my bar and I just have all my friends and all my friends are drinking friends. Where am I supposed to get new friends? Especially at this age. It's like no matter how old you are, nobody believes that they could start over and get new friends. Comment below if you agree with that. If you're 15, you're like, everybody, I want to have to change schools. Or if you're 50, you're just like, I have like fucking 50. Who's gonna love me? And that's that's a legit concern. But when we talk about questions, we ask big questions like that, like who's gonna love me? I bet you've asked yourself that question because the real question is, do I love me? Do I love this person? If the answer is no, then what are you doing to upgrade it? If you thought of yourself as like a car and you're just like, well, do I love this car? It's like, well, then no. It only gets like 5 miles a gallon and the wheel keeps falling off and it keeps turning left even though the steering wheel is pointing straight. And it's like, well, what are we gonna do to fix that? And it's like, well, nothing, because I can't afford to fix it. And it's like, well, you can't afford to keep driving it either. You can't keep affording to live this lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, like, don't get me wrong, we all die. At the end of the day, we're still all on the ground. And I don't mean to be so fatalistic, but I'm trying to be realistic here when I talk about at the end of the day, we still end up in the same place. But you get to choose your own adventure. Do you want to go down the path where I'm definitely going to fuck up and I'm definitely going to lose everything and I see it? What's the point? I just feel like I'm a slave. Like I can't even it's like all this momentum. It's like this big, drunk, massive boulder that's behind you. Just like, I just can't, what am I supposed to do? Stop this thing? And that's the same thing with like generational trauma, like from the pain from your parents, from your parents' parents, from generation to generation to generation of people that yelled and screamed and hit and drank and abused. You're either gonna continue that or you're gonna muster up the strength and stop it. You are gonna choose your own adventure. And I think all of us are just trying to be a little bit better than the previous generation. We're trying to be a little bit better. Like, I don't have any brothers and sisters. I'm the only one. So like, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, which psychologically, it's kind of just like, oh, I don't even know how I'm supposed to be. I didn't have a built-in like best friend growing up, right? I just like, which is great for like, never having to share my stuff. But everybody's life experience is different, So like when we talk about like the great unknown, like it is scary not knowing what tomorrow is going to hold. It's scary not knowing if it being sobriety is going to work. Is it going to work? Like, how good can it really be? And like you're a few minutes sober and you're just like, I don't know, does my brain work better after a couple hours or after 24 hours? You're like, let me see if I can remember my first job supervisor. Nope, I still have brain damage. And you start like, you break out the measuring stick and you're trying to like measure like your progress. Just like I was trying to make the analogy yesterday in yesterday's episode about like going to the gym. It's like you go to the gym and you're on the treadmill for an hour and then you're like looking in the mirror. You're like, oh, I think actually like my muffin top is like now I think it's a mini muffin top now. But realistically, you're still exactly. And then you look at the scale and you're like, I gained 2 pounds. How'd that happen? Not realizing that like you're gonna put on your muscles, gonna absorb water, and muscle weight is more than fat weight, and eventually your muscles will use that fat as fuel, and then the fat will start to shred away, and then you'll exchange. So there's going to be an exchange, and it's not going to be as noticeable. If all you're looking at, say in that example, is the scale, the results of the scale, you might be confused and you might be disheartened to see like, well, I was 180 and I'm trying to get down to 160, and I've been working out all week and I went from 180 to 182. What happened? It's like, well, keep in mind that there's a system of regulation in your body. And just like with working out, there's going to be one internally for you, chemically speaking, with how your emotions are going to respond, how you're going to react, and how you're going to change. It's going to be a slow and a long process. But is it one that you want? That's up to you to decide. I can't answer that question for you. And until you're ready and you're willing to actually put your foot down and say enough is enough, I'm tired of being that person that I was, then you're not going to get there. And I hate to say it. And I'm not trying to be like, one thing I'm not trying to be is, Mr. Positivity and Sunshine and Rainbows. I'm also trying to keep it real here with you. And I'm not going to say that there is no easy way to get sober. Here's my basic advice, which is true. How do you stop drinking? Here's a pop quiz. How do you stop drinking? You stop drinking. That's the answer. And nobody wants to hear that because and I'm not going to sell a book that's going to be like, get sober in 5 minutes. That's not my plan. And if somebody's trying to sell you that, they probably have some snake oil for you too. I don't know what to tell you that's going to make you decide to stop drinking. But I've made 96 episodes to try to help persuade you with humility and humor so that you won't feel so alone on your journey. But I think a very helpful way to think about the position that you're in that may be helpful to you to change your mentality and change the way that you are continuing to approach life is this. Step outside of yourself for a moment. Whether you want to visualize, you don't have to watch the video, just listen to my voice and think about, just step outside of your body and look at yourself right now and look at who you are and who you've become on your journey with alcohol. And ask yourself, when we talk about, do we love ourselves? Do you love yourself? Do you love that version of you? And if the answer is no, then what can you do to improve who you are so that you can fall in love with you? If you objectively look at yourself from now all different perspectives, not just looking at yourself in the form of a mirror, looking at yourself from the perspective of your best friend, from a good friend, from an associate, what do you think maybe their opinions are of you? And again, also too, keeping in mind, like, screw other people's opinions, but be mindful of what they may be so that you can potentially improve your situation. What do you think that your friends think about you or what their opinion may be of you? What do you think your family's opinion might be of you? What do you think your spouse or your partner's opinion might be of you? What do you think and who do you think that you are to your coworkers, to your boss, or if you are a boss, to your employees? It's very important to self-reflect. It's very important to realize how you may be perceived to other people. And that was something that I found motivating to myself, because I was genuinely afraid that there may be people in the world that hate my guts. There may be people in the world that think that I have a drinking problem. And that's highly embarrassing to me. I'm a very high functioning person. I feel like I would like to think that I'm a very creative person, intelligent person, charming, charismatic person, whatever, toot my own horn. Boop, boop, boop. But I also don't want to have people thinking or speaking negatively about me in my own community. And that's where feelings start to derive from, when we start to think like, oh, just like, I'm just so embarrassed. Like, I wish I could just disappear. I wish I could just, I don't know, just wake up tomorrow and I would just be somewhere else, somewhere sunny and sunshiny and warm, and be away from all the usual cast of characters and the people that are trying to get me down, and my non-supportive friends that make fun of me for trying to get sober, and my non-supportive family that all just drink in my face and laugh at me. And it's like, a lot of us want to disappear. A lot of us don't identify with like being family to even our own family. It's like those, sometimes you might just feel like those are just people that you are related to. And you might not feel like they're your family. And throughout your life, you've found people who you identify with being your family, who are better family than your actual family. But I never wanted to be the person who I thought that maybe my friends or family members might think like, how much longer do we have to be patient with this person? I see that this person has massive potential, and okay, they're drinking again. All right, whatever. And disappointing people, because really I was disappointing myself. And I want to think like, as highly as you might want to think about yourself, I think about this like an imaginary scenario in my head. It's like I'm single, right? So I think about like, what if one day it was the right place and the right time and the right opportunity, and I met the right person, and I randomly, let's say at the grocery store, and I was charming enough to get their attention, right? And then they start to get to know me a little bit, and they're like, oh yeah, he's this super talented person, seems to have things going for him, but drinks every night. Ugh, that's kind of, I don't know, kind of a red flag. And as I continue to get older, the field continues to narrow, and I wondered to myself, like, what is my personal future going to look like? Would I dare to bother anybody? Would I dare to bother anybody to try to fall in love with me, or to be a good family member, or to be a good friend? What disservices have I been doing to myself by continuing to drink or abuse or whatever? But most importantly, what damage had I been doing to myself physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and financially? And to date, next week, I'll be 6 months sober. And as I always talk about in previous episodes, that Quitzilla app I like to use, not associated with, and it's free, and it's down in the links below. Speaking of which, book references are down below. All the camera equipment that I use is down below. The Quitzilla app, other links to, like I say, my Patreon, all kinds of stuff is all down below. So check that out. But the Quitzilla app, to date, I've saved something like almost $4,000 by being sober for just about 6 months. So that's also that's motivation for me. And that's also part of the great unknown. It's like, well, how much money am I going to save? And that's another part of it too. You're going to save money. Your life is going to improve. It's inevitable. You will definitely have a better quality of life when you stop drinking. If you're not sure, you don't have to take my word for it. You can check out the comments below. People have been sober for 2 months, for 2 years, for 10 years. Down in the comments section below. And the story is all the same. Their life is better, and my life is better. So the great unknown with sobriety is the life that you've been looking for. It's the career opportunities that you'll be able to get closer to. It's the better relationships with your friends and your family and your community that you've been looking for. It's being more capable because there's going to be less self-sabotage. And I want that for you. And I know that you want that for yourself because you're watching this channel and you've probably said to yourself a dozen times that I'm never going to drink again. But here we are trying to get sober, again. So with that, I wish you good luck on your journey and have an awesome weekend. Make sure that you leave a comment for me or somebody else in the comment section down below and leave this video a thumbs up, pretty please. Have a super dope weekend. And don't forget that tomorrow, April 24th, Saturday at noon Eastern, we're gonna do our first live chat session here on YouTube. So check that out and I will see you in the next video.